The sun had barely risen over the narrow streets of Manila, yet the air was already heavy with the sounds of the city waking up, the chatter of vendors, the rumble of jeepneys, and the laughter of children playing barefoot on cracked concrete. Among them walked a 15-year-old Filipino boy, his white Elvis-style suit carefully folded inside a plastic bag to protect it from the morning dust. His name wasn't known to the world. Not yet, but in his small community they called him, the Little Elvis. His home was nothing more than a small wooden shack at the edge of a flood canal, where the walls were patched with cardboard and the roof leaked whenever it rained. Yet inside that humble home lived something priceless, a dream. Every night as the city lights dimmed and the noise faded, the boy would sit by a small broken radio, the kind his father found in a junkyard years ago. He'd twist the rusty knob until he caught the faint crackle of an Elvis Presley song. With every lyric, he imagined himself on a grand stage, not in torn slippers and dusty shorts, but in a shining white suit with golden trim, standing before thousands who cheered his name. In those moments, the slum walls disappeared. The stench of the canal was replaced by the scent of the stage lights, and the roar of passing cars became the applause of an unseen audience. But reality always came back. He'd open his eyes to see his mother asleep after a long day of selling snacks, her hands rough and tired. The boy would lower his voice, not to wake her, and whisper softly, "One day, Mama, I'll sing for you on TV." Every coin he earned from helping his neighbors, carrying groceries, cleaning tricycles or singing at small gatherings, went toward that dream. And though people often laughed at him, saying, "You'll never make it there, kid," he never stopped believing. Because deep inside he felt something powerful, that his voice was his ticket out. And so, with hope in his heart and faith in his song, the poor boy from Manila took one more step toward a destiny he could barely imagine. A destiny that would soon take him from the streets to the world's biggest stage. The day had finally come. The poor Filipino boy, clutching his plastic bag with the white Elvis-style suit inside, stepped out of the airport into the dazzling world of Los Angeles. For a child who had never even left his neighborhood before, everything felt unreal. The tall glass buildings, the clean streets, the faces of people rushing by who didn't even look at him. But his eyes didn't see fear, they saw possibility. As he entered the America's Got Talent studio, his heart pounded louder than the crowd's cheers echoing from the stage. He could hear the other contestants laughing, warming up their voices, some dressed in glamorous costumes. He stood quietly in the corner holding his small pendant, a silver microphone that once belonged to his late father, and whispered, "Wide me, Papa." When his name was finally called, his legs felt like stone. The huge AGT logo glowed above the stage as he stepped out into a sea of lights. The audience murmured, curious. A young boy from the Philippines alone, wearing a handmade white Elvis-style suit with gold trim, clearly nervous, but determined. Simon Cowell squinted at him, intrigued. "Simon, what's your name, young man?" Boy softly, "My name is Angelo, sir." "Simon, and what will you be doing for us today?" Boy, "I'll be singing Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love." A few people chuckled gently. The idea of this small boy singing Elvis seemed almost unbelievable, but when the music started the entire room shifted. He took a deep breath, his trembling fingers gripping the microphone tightly. The first note came out shaky. Then the next one soared. His voice, pure and filled with emotion, carried through the hall like a warm wave. The crowd went silent. Simon leaned forward. Sofia Vergara covered her mouth, eyes wide. For the boy, it felt like time stopped. Every light, every heartbeat, every face blurred away. There was only his voice, and the dream he had carried from the streets of Manila. When the final note rang out, the entire theater stood up. Tears, applause, and disbelief filled the air. He had come as a poor boy with nothing and left the judges speechless. The spotlight dimmed slightly as the first soft notes of "Can't Help Falling in Love" echoed through the massive AGT theater. The boy's small frame looked almost swallowed by the stage, yet something about his presence demanded attention. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing, his voice trembling, at first fragile but honest. Then, as if something deep within him awakened, his tone grew stronger, clearer, purer. The audience leaned forward, their whispers fading into absolute silence. His voice carried a kind of pain that words could never describe. The pain of hunger, of nights spent dreaming under a leaky roof, of a mother's quiet tears after counting coins that never added up. Every note was soaked in that reality. He didn't just sing Elvis, he became the song. His hand moved gracefully. His eyes glimmered under the stage light, and for a moment everyone forgot his age, his poverty, his background. All they could see was raw, beautiful emotion pouring out of a boy who had lived every word he sang. Simon Cowell, usually the toughest critic, leaned closer, his expression softening. Sofia Vergara's eyes filled with tears, while Heidi Klum pressed her hands together, almost in prayer. Howie Mandel nodded, whispering, "Unbelievable," under his breath. As the boy sang the line, "Take my hand, take my whole life too," his voice cracked slightly, not from weakness, but from feeling. The audience gasped. It wasn't a perfect note, it was something more powerful, real, authentic. A mother in the crowd began to cry. A man beside her placed his hand over his heart. Even the camera operators, hardened professionals used to countless performances, stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the stage. And as the final note echoed into silence, the boy opened his eyes slowly, as if waking from a dream. The entire hall was still, suspended in the magic of what had just happened. Then came the sound that shattered the silence. A single clap, then another, until the whole room erupted. The audience rose to their feet, screaming, cheering, crying. He had done it. The poor boy from the slums of Manila had just stopped time on the world's biggest stage. For a few seconds after the last note faded, there was only silence, the kind that wraps around you, heavy and electric. The boy stood motionless, his chest rising and falling, eyes still half closed as if afraid to look up. The microphone trembled in his hand. He didn't know if they loved it or if he had just failed in front of millions. Then, slowly, it began. A single clap from the back row. Then another. Within moments, the entire audience was on its feet. A wave of applause and cheers crashed through the theater, drowning out the music, echoing off every wall. People were crying, shouting, and clapping with all their hearts. The boy opened his eyes, stunned. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Thousands of people standing for him, tears glistening under the lights. For a moment, he thought he was still dreaming. But this was real. It was all real. Heidi Klum wiped her eyes, whispering to Sofia Vergara, "He reminds me why I love this show." Sofia nodded, visibly emotional, her voice breaking as she said, "That was pure soul." Howie Mandel leaned forward, smiling wide. "You came all the way from the Philippines, and you just showed the world what true passion sounds like." Then, all eyes turned to Simon Cowell, the judge everyone feared. He didn't speak at first, he simply stared at the boy, his usual stern face softened. After a long pause, he finally said, his voice low and sincere, "You know, I've heard thousands of singers. But this was different. You didn't just sing that song, you lived it." The crowd roared even louder. The boy pressed his trembling hands together and whispered, "Thank you," into the mic, his voice cracking with emotion. He looked toward the sky, whispering a silent prayer for his mother back home, the one who had always believed when no one else did. Cameras zoomed in on his tear-streaked face, capturing the moment that would soon go viral across the world. It wasn't just a performance anymore. It was a testimony of hope, proof that even a poor boy from the slums could touch hearts across oceans, across languages, across everything that once held him back. The ovation didn't stop, it kept rising, louder and louder, until the stage itself seemed to glow, as if the universe was clapping too. The applause still thundered through the AGT hall, echoing like rolling waves. The boy stood center stage, breathing hard, his tiny hands clutching the microphone as if afraid it might disappear. Like everything else good that had ever come and gone too soon. The golden lights above shimmered down on him, and for the first time in his life he felt seen, truly seen. He looked out at the crowd, thousands of faces all smiling, clapping, crying. Somewhere in that moment he whispered to himself, "Mama, I did it." The judges were still on their feet. Heidi was clapping with both hands over her heart. Howie shouted, "That was unbelievable." Sofia had tears running down her cheeks, and Simon Cowell, the man known for being unshakable, was simply staring, quiet, emotional and proud. Sofia turned toward him, still wiping her eyes, and said with trembling excitement, "Simon, I can't take this anymore. He deserves this." Before anyone could say another word, Sofia Vergara reached out and slammed the golden buzzer. A loud burst of music filled the theater, and then it happened. Golden confetti exploded from above, cascading like a shimmering rain of dreams. The boy froze, eyes wide open, his face lit by the golden glow. For a second he didn't even move, then overwhelmed, he dropped to his knees, tears pouring down his cheeks. The audience screamed. People jumped, waved, cheered his name. Sofia ran to the stage, hugging him tightly as the gold continued to fall. "You did it, sweetheart," she whispered. "You made all of us cry." Back home in Manila, his mother watched the broadcast from a tiny TV in their small shack. When she saw the confetti falling on her son, she covered her mouth and wept, tears of pride, relief, and gratitude. Neighbors gathered around, cheering, clapping, shouting, "That's our boy." On stage, the boy looked up through the golden storm, his face glowing under the lights. The confetti stuck to his hair and suit, but he didn't care. Every sleepless night, every hardship, every hungry day, it all led to this. For the world, it was just another golden buzzer moment. But for him it was a miracle, proof that dreams born in poverty can still shine brighter than gold.